Welcome to another episode in the Read with Atharva series where I pick up technical articles and read them for you. And today we have got a very interesting article to read. So let's look at this. You are leaking your Next.js application features. Conditionals. We love to and we have to use them as developers. But what does it take to break them? Well, possibly not much in a Next.js client-side head-rated application, it turns out. Recently, I set out an implement feature flag for a Next.js hobby project to keep a feature hidden from general users until it was internally tested. A simplistic sounding undertaking for sure, until I discovered I could easily bypass the feature flags on the client even with server-side rendering in Next.js. And I mean, that sounds so weird, right? I mean, you don't hear about this a lot of times, and there are times you might even like pass in sensitive data to the client side through getServerSideProps, thinking that this is secure and nobody can change it and stuff. And I think this article should be a very great lesson. I know not a lot of people would be passing secret stuff through to the client anyways, but I think this is a very good article to read regardless. So yeah, before we dive into the flaw and how to reproduce it, let's take a look at some implementation details. Feature flags were implemented with the following tools: upstash/redis for the database reason, so I could learn something new. By the way, there is a big drama going on with Redis. I have a video coming pretty soon. Expect that video this week. I'm not going to go into details right now, but yeah. Zord for passing and transforming flag values. Reason for convenience. I mean, you don't really need both of these. It's just like his own implementation on how he did. There is the author name down here. It's Rexford Essilfie. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrect, but I mean... I'm very bad at pronouncing them anyways. Okay, the feature flag. Here is what the implementation of the feature flag service looked like. Notice the use of Zord to pass 0 or off and 1 or on to true or false respectively. We also store feature flags as a hash in Redis with the key feature flags and the environment. This allows us to have different feature flags for different environments and also allows us to fetch all the feature flags for a given environment. So let's take a look at the code. This might look a little difficult, but I'm trying to go and break it down for you. So first of all, they have only set up a Redis HTTP client. So if you don't already know Redis, it's used for like storing temporary data most of the time, or like you can like even use it as a database. But I think most people even use it for just for like communication with microservices and all. So I think this is a very good way to like store feature flags and stuff. Now, after the connection is done, then we are converting 0 and 1 to true or false. So what's happening here is we are giving Zord. So like if you don't already know Zord, I have a video on Zord. It will be the link will be in the description. So Zord is a validation library where you can define rules for data to have certain data types, and if the data types are not fulfilled, then there's an error. So this is just making sure that the types of the data which we are getting is actually which we desire, right? So this is a schema which we are creating here. So schema is actually the structure of an object, or like just structure of literally anything and their type. So here we are creating a union of z.literal is like to give literal values. So we are just creating a union of 0 1. We are just saying that this is supposed to be either 0 or 1, and we are also like doing a transform. So like we are just transforming this to either true or false, and if you don't know, 0 is supposed to be false and 1 is supposed to be true. So if you just pass in value here, it will automatically convert to true or false, convert on and off to true and false, and it's the same thing. We are just passing in literals and we are just using transform to actually convert it to true or false. Pretty good. So far so good. And then we have a super boolean which takes both of this. So z dot boolean and 0 1 boolean and on off boolean, and just mixes it because like we do not need to have transform here because these are already being transformed here. So this will be boolean values anyways. So now we are just making the feature flag schema. So z dot object, so it's saying that this schema is an object, and we are having the feature name which is enable secret feature, and we have a super boolean, and we're just saying it's an optional field and default is false. I mean, you do not need to have a lot of this Zord thing, but I think it's pretty cool how he has implemented all of this. I mean, not a lot of people have used like unions and transforms and stuff. We mostly use Zord for very basic stuff, and I think this is very cool. And I think I should make a video on very advanced use cases of Zord pretty soon. Anyways, so what's happening? It's just like creating types here now. Then this is the main part. Like, it's funny like how this is only all of Zord, and this is the main part. This is actually a get feature flags function, and we are taking an environment, and by default it's going to be process.env.node.env. Then we have a key feature flags, and we are just appending environment just as he mentioned before. So like with the key feature flags environment, and then we are just using Redis to get all, like, just getting all the feature flags, and like we are only expecting one anyways, so yes. And now we are moving on to the page, and remember we are using pages router. This is a thing in the pages router, and an app router, if you're using React server components, which we will get to in later, this problem does not exist. So the page after this, the next step was using the feature flag in my Next.js application running on pages router. This page uses getServerSideProps to opt into Next.js server-side rendering. In it, we load the feature flags from Upstash, pass them as props to the page, and then use them to conditionally render the secret feature. So what's happening here? Let's take a look. So first of all, we are simply, okay, let's start from getServerSideProps, because that's the flow, right? First, getServerSideProps actually renders the pre-renders the React tree, and then it's hydrated on the client side. So what's happening here? We are just doing feature flags is equal to await feature flags, and we are just passing the feature flags to the client side. I mean, if you have any other logic to like fetch feature flags, that's fine. It's just like how it's done in the article. So yeah, and in the client side, we are actually checking if feature flags dot enable secret feature, and yeah, that's what we are doing. But the problem here is that, okay, we will see. Now we can go into Upstash, and we can set the enable secret feature flag to 0 with set. This is the command for doing that, like for setting the value for a key in Redis. After this, we expect to see nothing to see here rendered in the browser when we load our app, and indeed we do. So in this image, he has actually set the value for that feature flag, and then we see there is nothing to see here because that feature flag is not enabled. The problem, yeah, our feature flags correctly shows or hides the secret feature rendered on the server. The problem, however, is that a little bit of JavaScript on the client's browser, I can still access the secret feature. How, you might ask? First, inspect the web page and go to the browser console. I love all of this stuff. In the console window, enter window.nextdata.props.pageProps. So like just accessing the page props, and to reveal the page props as returned by our getServerSideProps function. Now modify the value of a feature flag with window next to props, page props, enable secret feature is equal to true. So we are simply like changing the entire prop dam. And finally, trigger a client-side re-render with the router with window.next. So I mean Next.js router.push, and we are just passing in the same route name. We're just passing undefined, and we are passing shallow true so that the page is not reloaded. And I think we maintain the props, and we just only re-render the page. And this is genius. Like, I would have never imagined all of this. Like, I have seen Next data before, but I have never like went into it and checked what it has. But I think like this is the sign to go deeper into stuff and try to see how things work, and finding some good exciting stuff when you're working on different things. Now you should be able to see the secret value, my secret feature. I mean, how is this possible? For some reader, this comes as no surprise at all. I mean, for me, it is a little bit surprising. For me, however, my mental model of server-side rendering, which is what you opt into getServerSideProps, was incomplete. Using getServerSideProps only means that the pages are first pre-rendered on the server, producing all of their HTML and then hydrated on the client. So the HTML is generated on the server, and then it's converted, like it's like hydrated. That means like it's reactified on the client side. And I mean, this is like the first time, like this is how it works, but like I just forgot about it, and I always used to think like it's just code that runs on server and the client gets all the props and stuff. I mean, yeah, but I never I knew about it, but I never gave it a deep thought that it's like hydration and stuff, even though we face a ton of hydration errors back in the Pages Router days. And the Next.js docs do warn against sending over sensitive information in page props, since they could be accessible on the client. And let's see, let's look at the link. Like, this is the sign: do not do stuff like that. Props passed to page component can be viewed on the clients at the part of the initial HTML. This allows the page to be hydrated correctly. Make sure that you don't pass any sensitive information that shouldn't be available to the client in props. So I mean, I think you should be just considering it just like client component, like just forget and don't pass in sensitive stuff that your client, I mean, you won't trust your client with. So yeah, in this situation, however, feature flags are not so secret and are required at rendering states. So what remains then? So yeah, I do get that. Why is the title called as you are leaking your Next.js application features? Because I mean, feature flags are not like that sensitive. Like, I mean, you won't lose money just because I mean, in some cases you might, but like, it's not that big of a business deal, like if your feature flags actually get leaked, right? So I think this is what it's targeting. Like, I mean, the Next.js documentation has already covered why you should not send sensitive information through props. Potential almost solutions. So now we are going into the solutions. So first, assume for a while that we cannot fundamentally get past this issue. What can we do to help the situation? First of all, it's backend feature flags. If the secret features involve making a request to your backend, the backend should be able to detect that feature should not be accessible and to abort the request. This way, even if our secret feature is accessed, it is only a shell and we do not risk too much. Practically, this could mean that the feature flags on the backend as well and could be done at the middleware level to block routes from being accessed en masse. I don't know what does that mean, but we have a middleware.ts file. So if you don't know, you can create middlewares by creating this file in whatever route you want, and then you can have export the middleware function, just get the feature flag. And if the feature flag is not enabled, then we are just returning a new next response, which is like we are sending a 403 status, which is saying unauthorized access. And we are simply just passing in the config, and we are just trying to match the path. Like if we are using secret feature, we are just trying to match like everything, like all the routes which are using the secret feature, so like all the sub routes as well. With this change, all access to API/secret feature/anything are inaccessible while the enable secret feature flag is off. Conservative server-side props. Another way to mitigate the problem is to be conservative with how much data we send over to the client. For example, if the enable secret feature flag is used to conditionally render a feature message prop, then we should only return feature message to the client if the feature flag is on. This will ensure that bypassing the feature flag results in an interface that a feature that is incomplete and possibly unusable to the user. So like, even if you are using like a feature flag and you don't want your user to be accessing it, just make sure that data never leaves. You do not give the client the data unless the feature flag is enabled. So what's happening here? So like in the getServerSideProps, we are getting all the feature flags, and in default props we are passing the feature flags. And if we are seeing if the feature is enabled, we are just returning the props here. So like we are just passing the default props, and in feature message, this is a feature message which is supposed to be kind of secret, not really secret, but whatever. Like if this is some kind of thing which you don't want your client to see, if the feature flag is off, you can have the content right here. And if somebody tries on the client side to change the feature flags, it won't really matter, because they won't be able to get the actual content or actual stuff or whatever your feature flags is hiding. Even with this mitigation, a really dedicated user would track down all the missing properties needed in order to view the feature or submit requests to your backend through the feature. I mean, I want to know more about this, to be completely honest. Like, Rexford, like, I know like you might not be even like noticing this video, but like if you are noticing, can you make an article on this thing? Like, I'm really interested to know how. However, this should be okay if your backend is able to detect illegal requests to it, as discussed in the first mitigation, using feature flags on the backend to detect. Oh, okay. So how might we solve this problem for real? Now the real solution comes in. We are transitioning away from Pages Router now. We are talking about server components. Heard the buzz about server components, also known as React server components, yet? Well, situations like this are a big reason to consider them. Server components execute and generate a ready to serve HTML on the server, which is then delivered to the client. In this process, all conditionals are executed and code paths that are not taken are left behind on the server. There is no hydration of the component on the client unless you are using like a client component that is like, I mean, yeah, fair enough. Like, there is no hydration itself if you are just using server components. Using server components, we can manage to not even send over any feature flag in client components. Furthermore, very few modifications are required to make this happen. Specifically, we move the page into an app directory to make use of Next.js 13's app router. I have made a Next.js 14 app router video with also the addition of server actions. So if you want to know more about app router, and if you want to also learn about server actions, all the latest and greatest stuff in Next.js, I will leave the link in the description below. Go ahead and watch that video. I'm pretty sure it will be valuable to you. Anyways, that's it. Our feature flags now work and cannot be bypassed. Okay, I never looked at the code. So this is a server component, because in Next.js, to make a client component, you need to have the use client directive on the top, but this is not this. So this is a server component. So basically everything running here runs on the server, and after that just an HTML is returned back to the browser. So here we are checking the feature flags. This is being done on the server, and we are generating an HTML. So like we are checking if the feature is enabled or not, and we are just rendering according to that, and this will be rendered on the server and be sent back to the client. Now there will be no way that a user would be able to change the feature flag, because it's just HTML and there is no props and there's nothing. Like, everything is being rendered on server and it just sent to the client. No client side stuff is sent. That's it. Our feature flags now work and cannot be bypassed by the client. Our app is now more secure and is also relieved of JavaScript payload and rendering work of evaluating condition. The following migration guide from Next.js discusses how to migrate from Pages Router to App Router to be able to use server components conditionally. Yeah, we do not need to go to that. Advanced use case controllable flags. I have encountered scenarios where feature flags had to be controllable by the client. For example, developers or internal teams may want to toggle features when testing the application. In such cases, the common approach could be to use client-side state management. Here we should first load the feature flag into a application-wide client-side context and then update the value of the flag within the context. However, the solution again would mean sending over JavaScript to the client, which could be controlled by a highly determined user. Alternatively, we can stick with server component model, either using cookies or session for the state and updating flags via request from the client. These requests may be through fetch or server action. So like, again, shameless plug for my video. Here's a quick way. So this is a server component and we are in the app directory. So this is a server component by default. We are getting the feature flags, and we will get into this later, but what we are doing is we are just seeing if the feature flag is enabled or not, and then we are checking all the feature flags, and then we are actually making a form with like a lot of input boxes with like actually a lot of check boxes, and we are actually making a form to check to enable feature flags. So and then we have a submit button, and what will this do? It will actually submit the form, which will call the action, which is the submit function. And this is actually a server action. You can actually pass in functions in this way, given that the function is a server component. And how do you a server action, and how do you make a server action? Just create a function and have the use server directive inside the function, so that it becomes a server action. And Next.js behind the scenes actually makes an API route for this, so it's pretty convenient. So you can just say await save feature flags to session, and you just like revalidate the path. that's it. And Next.js will handle all the refreshing and stuff, and the feature flags will be enabled. And just like we checked before, you can actually control what data could be seen by feature if the feature flag is enabled or not. In the above snippet above, get feature flags with session fetches the feature flags from the Redis and merges them with the current session's feature flag, while the save feature flags to session helper updates the feature flag in the session when our user submits the form. Finally, we use a submit server action, and that's it. We were able to securely conditionally render content using a feature flag, update the feature flag securely on a server, and have the application instantly react to changes on the server. Now if you look at this video, there is actually an example. So like if you click and if you save and you get the there's almost no reloading. There might be some reloading behind the scenes, but there's minimal JavaScript here. Anyways, conclusion. Thank you for reading this far. I did not expect to go down to this journey, but it was worth it for the content. I hope it was helpful, and if I missed anything, let me know on X, formerly known as Twitter. Till the next one. Side note, I was tempted to call this conditional render attack CRA to be a punny. It rhymes with the other CRA, but maybe this is not that big of an issue. That name makes it out to be. I mean, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like the title says, not some kind of security issue or some stuff like that, but actually you're leaking your Next.js application features. Unlike me, I'm going to create a very clickbaity title and I'm going to probably fool you all. No, I'm not going to fool you. I mean, you should not be sending sensitive stuff, right? I'm pretty sure someone might be doing that without realizing how much they are not doing it correct. So what I want you guys to do, go ahead and follow. Well, I cannot even log into Twitter using this. Just go ahead and follow him on Twitter, and because he wrote this amazing article and you got to know something new about Next.js today. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something new. Like this is a pretty interesting topic. I really wish to go back to my project and see if I have done something stupid back in the days. But anyways, I hope this really gave you something new information. So yeah, if you like this video, make sure you click the like button and hit the subscribe button as well to show some support to this channel. We are growing very fast recently and I've been loving it. Thank you so much for all your support. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'll meet you in the next Read with Atharva episode, and I'll also have a lot of videos in between it. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.